Have you ever had one of those moments where someone asks you a completely reasonable question and you immediately feel irritated? Not because they did anything wrong, not because you're angry, you just don't have much left in the tank. Or maybe the dog barking feels louder, the clutter bothers you more, the text message feels more demanding, the traffic feels more annoying, the kids feel a little louder than usual. And you find yourself wondering, why am I so reactive lately? Or at least that's the question I hope you're asking yourself. By the way, welcome to the Longevity Path with Dr. Ava, where ancient wisdom meets modern regenerative medicine. And hopefully you're not saying, why is this idiot moving so slow? But as we're moving toward the end of July, I've been thinking a lot about emotional resilience. And having kids, this is absolutely something I'm always thinking about. And not because people are weak and not because they're doing something wrong, but because many people are carrying more stimulation than they realize. One of the things I notice every summer is that people become increasingly frustrated with others, with themselves, for feeling more emotional, reactive, impatient, or overwhelmed. You assume that you or they should be handling things better. You think you need more discipline, more patience, more self-control. But what if that's not the real issue? What if the real issue is reserve? Think about everything summer asks from us. More gatherings, more travel, more activity, more social interaction, more planning, more stimulation, more demands, more heat, and more. And every single one of those things requires energy, especially the heat in Arizona. One of the reasons that I love Chinese medicine is because it teaches us to observe patterns. And summer, surprise, surprise, is associated with the fire element, and not just because of the heat, but fire means connection, joy, movement, expansion, community, expression, all beautiful things. But fire also consumes fuel. And when fire becomes excessive, Chinese medicine teaches that it can disturb the Shen. And if you remember from our last video, the Shen is often described as the spirit, consciousness, presence, or emotional center. This is not a religious debate. This is just describing the Shen in relation to Chinese medicine. When the Shen is unsettled, people often experience things like poor sleep, restlessness, emotional reactivity. Does any of this sound familiar? Difficulty concentrating, feeling overwhelmed, feeling disconnected from yourself. What's fascinating is that modern physiology observes many of the same patterns. Poor sleep affects emotional regulation. Chronic stimulation affects resilience. Heat influences recovery. Stress affects mood. Again, different language, but very similar observations. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is assuming emotional resilience is something we either have or don't have. But resilience is not unlimited. It depends on resources. It depends on recovery. It depends on how much reserve is available. And that's why I often tell patients, stop judging yourself based on your worst moment. This is something I have to tell myself too. Start becoming curious about what your body may be trying to tell you. Maybe your irritability isn't a character flaw. Maybe it's information. Maybe your overwhelm isn't weakness. Maybe your exhaustion isn't laziness. Maybe this is all information. The body is always communicating. The question is whether we're listening. As summer begins winding down, I think this becomes an important conversation because many people spent August trying to push harder, trying to catch up, trying to squeeze more out of ourselves. But nature teaches a different lesson. Nature teaches cycles. There's that word again. We love cycles. Expansion, restoration, activity, recovery, output. input. What if the healthiest thing you did for yourself this month wasn't pushing harder? What if it was protecting your peace, creating more space, reducing unnecessary stimulation, prioritizing sleep, spending time in quiet, allowing your nervous system to settle? Because peace isn't laziness, it's a biological need, and perhaps one of the most overlooked forms of healthcare available to all of us. So if you've been feeling more reactive lately, more emotional, more impatient, more overwhelmed, maybe the question isn't what's wrong with me. Maybe the question is, where in my life am I spending energy that I no longer have available to spend? That's the question I've been reflecting on. Maybe it's one worth reflecting on for yourself. If this conversation resonated with you, leave a comment below and let me know what's been draining your energy the most this summer. And as always, stay grounded, stay consistent, and build health that supports your life, not just your symptoms.